Hi everyone, it's Dr. Domingo. I want to welcome you to the recording of the Collaborate session. A few of us joined me for the live session, but I know I wanted to get this recording out and post it so that if you didn't get a chance to attend, no worries, you could listen to this. It's just a quick recap of what I did. And if you did attend, if you want to listen to it again, thank you. I appreciate that. Uh, we're going to go a little through this quickly. The main presentation is essentially just a recap of where we have been and then just some general tips for the paper. So here's what I want to do is I want to recap our modules so far, modules 1 to 4, and then review the paper expectations. And many times students ask, what Dr. Domingo, do you look for when you grade papers? I know there's some professors that do it this way, some do it that way. How do you do that? Well, I'm going to lay that out for you. And then any final reflections and thoughts. And obviously, if you're not here on if you're just listening to this, feel free to go ahead and send me your questions via email. And so let's get started. Now, I love this quote because it helps me reflect as a leader, or as I'm continuing to learn. To be a leader is this: a leader's goal is to create more leaders, not followers. We need more leaders in our world. We need people to help make a difference in society and make everything better. What a great quote. I think part of what I love about this course is not just about learning skills in leadership or the right way to lead, but it's how to lead in order to create more leaders. And so I've loved this work. I've been doing this work for some time, and leadership development is something that excites me, and I'm glad to be in this class with you. Now, the course text we use is the Leadership Challenge by Kouzes and Posner, and in that, there are 5 exemplary practices. Now, anything from Kouzes and Posner stuff is great. They've got a new book on the 5 practices on learning these leadership competencies, as I call them. And this has been around. It's really a part of transformational leadership. If you want to go back to your Leadership 606 class, transformational leadership is something that helps empower, which you'll see that here as well. But it's definitely not authoritarian. It's not situational, though it can be in some contexts. It's certainly not trait or skills, but I think it's all of those. So here you are. This is a great slide before you. It highlights all the 5 exemplary practices: model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. Now, what it also includes are 10 commitments, and these commitments I like to think of questions that you can ask yourself as a leader. So, for example, in modeling the way, how do you find your voice and how do you clarify your values? How do you set the example? How do you align them with your actions? Are you walking the talk, so to speak? When you're inspiring a shared vision, do you envision the future? Do you imagine exciting and ennobling possibilities? Do you enlist others in a common vision? Do you appeal to their shared aspirations? And so think about those, what they call the 10 commitments, as questions that you can ask yourself. There's 2 per exemplary practice. So a great resource. And if you forget everything else, just remember, these 5 criteria. Now, let's go to Module 1, where we talked about modeling the way. We started out this class, we looked at an article from the Center of Creative Leadership, and modeling the way is essentially about, do your actions, values, and behavior align? In other words, are you, the same online person as you are in person? Do you walk the talk? Do you lead by example? All those classic refrains. We talked a little bit about the future of leadership development and where it's going in this article. And interestingly, the conversation and the discussion thread was about the shared approach to leadership. And so what does it mean to share leadership? There were some of you that said, hey, I don't want to share leadership. It's too tough and nothing gets done. There are some who said that nothing works unless you share leadership. And so I think it's a great conversation to have. What level of sharing does that mean? Does it mean decision making? Does it mean other things? So how do you share leadership in that model the way module? We went on to module 2 and we talked about challenging the process, and it's really about challenging organizational process, not challenging people directly. But the key to challenging the process that I've learned, and again continue to learn, is the importance of timing. If you're a new principal or a new teacher, a new person in an organization, and you just challenge the process, which let's say it does need challenge, the timing of that is critical. Um, Setting people up so that it would be received okay, and then knowing the ramifications of the challenge. So if you as a leader are going to challenge a process, do you know what that means and what that implies? So these are things leaders need to think about when they do this. And then we talked about on the discussion thread, what models have you seen, both good and bad? And so many of our educators in class said, hey, I had some great examples with assistant principals or superintendents coming in. Some had others, military experience, business experience. Great examples. Yes. What are you learning from them, from what you've seen? In fact, those models that you've seen refer back to our first thing of modeling the way. So many of these practices are interrelated. We went on to Module 3, which really is the heart of something that I personally have an affinity for. It's empowerment. My dissertation was on the subject of empowerment, and so to think about what practices empower versus disempower. So what are you doing as a leader that helps people feel empowered, or maybe what you're not doing as a leader that helps them feel empowered? The same for being disempowered. Do you do things that discourage them? How are you encouraging them? Is it your communication, etc.? Is empowerment just about productivity? I mean, is it all about just getting people to become more efficient, or does it go deeper than that? I'm of the opinion that it goes a little deeper than that, that it's not just about productivity and becoming more efficient and a better worker, but it cuts a lot deeper into that. And our discussion on the thread was about history and why do we care about organizational history. In higher ed, there is a concept called institutional memory. And it goes back to the quote of, those who fail to look at history are doomed to repeat it. So history, I think, is a valuable tool to learn from so you don't make the same mistakes that you did in the past. Okay, now on to Module 4, which is a great pause here because we talked about self-reflection, or we are talking about self-reflection. And many times in conversations about leadership, there's not a lot of talk about just being reflective and looking inward. And I think it was important to put in this course because we work so much on skill development, on capacity building, but we never look inward at ourselves. And so this module paused and stopped and had you think about that. And I think it's a good practice to institute. What do you see as the future of leadership development for your context was the question on the thread. And this led us to the first paper. Now, the paper is due on or before this Sunday at 11:59 p.m. It is an analysis paper. So for those of you that were in doctoral residency, you'll remember what analysis is. For those of you that weren't, analysis is a type of doctoral scholarly writing where you look at parts and apply them to the context. So for example, Myers-Briggs, you're looking at the different components, the M, the B, the T, the I. Are you an E, are you an I, are you an N, are you an F? Those type of things, and then applying those things to the context. So for example, in Myers-Briggs, which is a type of assessment, I am an E. I am an E because I get my energy from people. And so if I were to analyze that in my setting, for me, I would say that I am energetic. I gain my energy from people. One example of this was at the recent residencies or in class or I was speaking. I happen to enjoy that experience and getting to meet people, for example. So whatever tool you use, analysis is just breaking down into components or parts, whatever you want to use, and then applying them to the context. Now, anytime you apply it, you should back it up in the literature. And of course, APA. But you can write in first person on this assignment. We ask you to write in third person in the doctoral program, but we give you the option to write in first person here. Now, the assessment tool, there's a reason why it is not specific toward using a tool, because you get to choose, and I want to see the reasons why you chose the tool. So this is another part of doctoral level thinking is having reasons based on the literature why you want to choose this tool. you'd be surprised to hear that there have been students who present some tool that they found online on some website, like on Match.com or something, and all of a sudden, oh, it's a great leadership assessment, but it's not grounded in anything. Where's the basis? It was used to sell people things. So here are some examples. You choose one. Here's some good ones. You've heard of the Myers-Briggs. The leadership practices inventory is another one. Some of you in education have used the 360-degree feedback tool, the DISC assessment. There's so many of them. If you just do a search for leadership development assessment or leadership assessment, you'll find some. Okay, so I'm not worried about you not finding a tool. But what I am worried about is what I look for in the paper. So this is how I grade. Now, you know there's a rubric, and yes, I'm going to grade. That's first and foremost the rubric. But how I interpret the rubric is I look for content, clarity, and conformity. What does that mean? Content, did you answer the question? You'd be surprised to know that there are some students who are creative with their document. There's great research on there, but they don't answer the question directly. We've given you prompts. We've given you an outline, basically 5 sections of this paper. You can use those sections as headings. If you answer it that way, you will be fine. That's what content is about. Do you have good stuff to write about? I mean, is it compelling? Does it make sense? Do you use the literature? Is it not opinionated? All those things. This leads us to clarity. Is your expression good? Do the sentences flow? Do they make sense? Do you have good transition statements between paragraphs? And then finally, conformity, just because I like alliteration. To APA, this is just writing per APA. Include a cover page, abstract, and reference page. That doesn't count in the page count. Now, beware of anthropomorphisms. That is when, this happens a lot. For example, this paper will explore the leadership development tool. Well, this paper cannot explore anything because this paper is not human. Papers cannot explore. So, another thing is research says, well, what research? Who? Research has to have a person. So it's better to say that Kouzes and Posner said, or Bennis said, or Drucker said. You know, whatever it is, just be sure to avoid those anthropomorphisms, which is assigning a human quality to a non-human object. Okay, hopefully that's straightforward. And again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to email me. In the end, it is about leadership. I love this word. It's pronounced isumatok. It comes from the Inuit origin. Inuit is a language that is used in a people group that live north of the Arctic Circle in northern Canada. And there's a concept of leadership that they have in which they describe a leader is a person who creates the atmosphere in which wisdom reveals itself. What they're saying is that there's leadership already in the community, and the true leader is one who brings that wisdom and brings that leadership out in others. I think that's what this class is about, and that's why I love it so much. So, let me end with this. Whatever you do, do it well. Do it so well that when people see you do it, they will want to come back and see you do it again. And they will want to bring others and show them how well you do what you do. All right. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been helpful. Any questions, do not hesitate to contact me, and I'll look forward to seeing you all online.